her dragon breath on another dragon. She comes out on top despite being at a possible disadvantage. Now we're back to the team and Tiana talks about how they all trust each other now. This makes Nick think back. Then, the walls open up much to the team's surprise. The camera lingers on and watches our heroes as they enter a shady room, which suggests something ominous. Nick doesn't care about the danger and his protector has woken up and reveals it to be a golem. The epic monster shows up and attacks the team. The golem is to use him, and our hero decides to give it a chance. Tiana struggles against the golem and then the holy sword tells Nick to look at Curran and chant the word union. He does as he says, but it's of no use as the sword doesn't activate as planned. Nick tries slashing the golem with his hold to freeze the golem. Unfortunately, the monster breaks free and unleashes a new form. And then she reveals the story of how Kalios had betrayed her faith. This makes our hero look at her differently, and then he forms a bond with the dragon girl. The holy sword shines with energy, so he comes back to life, but then Nick spots the core and unleashes a fire blast to kill it for good. Now that the battle is over, Nick and Curran separate from each other and collapse. The team sells the sword to Wilma later, but we also spot a little boy named Bond with them. He is revealed to be the Holy Sword in human form, and he helps the team pull a scam on Wilma so that they can get some extra cash. With their new reward, the team spreads the money evenly so that each member can get a fair share. Even Bond is given a share of the spoils, and then the team decides to go watch a race. Tiana stays back because she wants Bond to spend some time with her. The sword boy happily tags along with the wizard girl, and then she asks him how long he was waiting for someone to rescue him. After hearing his answer, Tiana calls him cute, so he acts shy and chases after her. The team continues their journey and Bond decides to give us some narration as well. He is very dramatic and acts like a poet, which makes the team look at him with a sense of wonder. Bond and Tiana seem to have a strong bond, and she compliments him on his new armor. This makes the sword boy strike a pose, and then the team gets down to business. Nick tells the team that each of them should work on keeping their funds safe. Tiana checks out a magic abacus, while Zem counts a few copper coins. The team wants to know where the rest of the cash is, but Nick reveals that they're looking at it. This is a shock for all our heroes, so they decide to go look for ways to earn money. Tiana goes to the library for some books and meets her old master, who allows her to use the library as she pleases. Tiana is very respectful of her master, but he goes on to talk about humans in a rather weird manner. His destructive thoughts are shown to be a cause of concern, but he simply states that he's joking. Tiana doesn't know if he's being honest or immodest, so the master starts laughing. He's unable to control himself and it makes Tiana worry for him. This is a bit odd, but there's nothing the Princess Magician can do. She walks away while she can, but then the master decides to give her one more piece of advice. He tells her that she should find the real treasure that she deserves, but breaks into a frenzy again. This makes Tiana confused, and she walks away with nothing to say. Back at her bed, Tiana wonders if she'll ever see Alex again, and then we see Curran rolling around while she sleeps. Even Zem had a bad dream about his past, and then Nick sees himself with Claudine once again. It's a rather unpleasant experience, but he snaps out of it and sees Bond sleeping next to him. That's when we learn that the sword boy is using telepathy to see everyone's past. Bond is happy with his current life, and his joy knows no limits. This is seen later when he takes on a demon with horns and a club. The sword boy is able to take down the monster, even though the survivors worry for him. After showing off his powers, Bond states that he's absorbed the powers of his last swordsman. However, Nick states that he doesn't want to use the union move anymore because it takes a lot out of him. Then everyone discusses their plans using telepathy, and it annoys Bond. Later, Nick, Curran, and Bond sit down for a meal, and our hero has a sweet chat with a dragon girl. However, Nick suddenly sees Claudine talking to a boy in a flirtatious manner. He doesn't understand what's going on, so Nick decides to interrupt the couple. It turns out that Claudine has sneakily stolen a gift from the boy and is simply trying to trick him. Our hero stops his ex-girlfriend right in her tracks and then he gives the boy his gift back. Nick sits down with the team for a meal later, but then Claudine arrives and pours a drink on top of him. With her is a beastman named Leon, who is from the Iron Tiger clan. Nick gets into a brief war of words, and then Leon challenges our hero to a duel. He accepts and then Leon takes him to an alley. However, the Tiger Man says that he doesn't want to fight him and actually hates Claudine. He says he wants to trick Claudine and believes Nick is just like him, doing the same thing to his survivors party. Nick beats him down for being an ignorant cat and is about to land a finisher move. That's when Leon's friend, a wizard boy named Beck, attacks Nick from behind. Our hero doesn't like the sneak move, but then Curran arrives and grabs the boy with her dragon tail. That's when Wilma and the others arrive and say that illegal fights aren't allowed. Leon takes the hint and challenges Nick to an arithmetic bare knuckle. Wilma decides to take over the proceedings and she explains the rules of the challenge, which is to last 10 rounds. We learn that the opponents have to solve arithmetic puzzles, while their other team members engage in a fistfight. To elaborate further, each puzzle will rise in difficulty as the challenge proceeds. The rules are a bit complicated, but everyone understands that if a boxer's team wins the math round, he will get a free punch. Curran becomes the math fighter, but she gets nervous and acts scared. Nick tries to help her out, but she gets a low score on her mock test, and Zem has to console her. Now our heroes try to devise a plan to tackle Claudine and Leon, but Zem starts to spend a lot of time with the women of the night. This might seem shady at first, but he's actually plotting with these women in order to understand Claudine's man. The holy priest asks about a suspicious man visiting the ladies recently, and learns that he's committing frauds from time to time. The team learns his information and it seems as if the culprit is using a telepathy gem. Now we get to see Claudine, who thinks back to her past as a fraud lover. She remembers Nick as one of her victims and promises that she's going to make him pay for rejecting her earlier. It's time for the challenge, and Nick fights Leon while Curran does math with Claudine. Our hero senses something fishy as Leon doesn't engage with him actively, and Curran nervously finishes the test earlier than Claudine. However, she scores lower marks, so Leon gets to punch Nick in his abs. Our hero quickly realizes the Tiger Man is stalling him and tries to deny Leon the luxury of more free punches. He charges at the Tiger Man but isn't able to stop him from stalling for time. Curran loses to Claudine in the second round, and Nick gets punched once more, so the Dragon Girl feels bad about it. Regardless, Nick motivates her to do better with a hugely inspiring speech. This triggers Curran to remain confident in herself, and then round 3 begins. As time passes by, our heroes realize that Claudine is going to use the telepathy gem to increase her math knowledge when the questions get tougher. Tiana uses her magic to detect a suspicious presence, and then she asks Wilma to make the girl answer the questions at one shot. However, this also means that Nick has to take all the punches at one go if Curran loses. The next round kicks off, and Curran unleashes her genius skills. Claudine is shocked to see the Dragon Girl so confident, but she doesn't worry because it turns out that Beck is helping her with the telepathy gem. Tiana figures this out and heads out with the others to catch the wizard boy. Nick sees them and can rest easy because now he is the one who needs to stall for time. Bond catches Beck red-handed, and then he's brought back to the arena where Claudine goes frustrated over the wizard boy's lack of response. After realizing that Beck had stolen the telepath gem, Claudine and her team are arrested by Wilma and the guild authorities. Later, our heroes enjoy a nice meal, but a mysterious person is seen running nearby. And that's the end of part 2. Like, share, and subscribe for part 3. See you soon!